Feeling guided to go to this topic, I have been going through several different transmissions and thus articles of the past that I have received concerning dragons, which is really the primordial energy of a planet, and how it is manifested in this world, in this earth. So I'm going to be reading from various transmissions, articles on this subject. We're going to cover several different sections of understanding it. And I hope to be able to do this concisely and not make this video too long. So here we go. Being that there's no beginning or end to this topic, I decided just to choose a flavor, and that is to begin with something that I felt would be beautiful and heartwarming, and understanding of the true focus of the spiritual energy of the dragon beings. Now, dragons aren't just a metaphor for primordial energy. They manifest through that energy, and they are really an extension of it. And the way they manifest has to do with connecting to the human spectral consciousness and those of other creatures as well. This comes through the intelligence of Gaia and her planetary genius. In a way, we've been taught to fear primordial energy and fear dragons, and of course then the legends have developed of these awful fire-breathing creatures that have to be slain and conquered, and they're associated with negative things and with evil. Now, while there have been some bad actor dragons in the past, but really they were people, human beings, who manipulated primordial energy to suit their will, because primordial energy can be manipulated. The primordial energy right now is being manipulated in ways not in the dragon power, but in other ways on the planet through our own human weaknesses. That's another topic. But when we find ourselves being able to be more understanding of and copacetic with the primordial energy of the planet, and there's nothing evil about that, then we will be able to help lift the consciousness, the human spectrum, because the primordial energy is something that is a waveform. That's the basic nature of human and indeed all life species. And when that nature gets caught up in the miasm of fear and drama and misunderstanding and disconnection, that is when primordial energy can be manipulated. But to manipulate the dragons is a whole nother level of manipulation, and it was done in the past to some extent. And that still kind of is a cloud around us now. So that's why I'm being guided to bring forth the beauty, the positive energy of the primordial, and especially as it is associated with what we call dragons. So let us begin with dragons in the first stage of the new earth, what Thoth calls the Numis Om. Like unicorns, dragons are pure energy forms which take on genetic properties at will, aligning to human consciousness and thus mythic design. While unicorns contain the Christic presence in the nature kingdom, dragons were created from the primordial center of planets as they form and thus carry the patterns of the creatrix and a guardian of that creative power. In more ancient times, when the veil between human and nature realms were more mutable than it is today, both of these magical creatures, the unicorn and dragon, were seen and interacted with by a percentage of humanity. Those humans who did find themselves in the presence of these beasts were either at the right place and the right time, an energy ley line or a full moon, for example, or were seers and sensitives. Of course, Some among us still do see and interact with them, but usually in a less physical way than in the past. The dragons of the new earth, the Numis Om aspect, are far more attuned to their pure energy forms and thus less influenced by chaotic forces. In the old earth, humans could morph dragons into less than lovable beings at times. That does not happen in the new Earth star. While there is an interactive morphogenetic field which forms between dragon and human, both entities in the new Earth dwell within a harmonic wavelength that is long and even, like an undulating serpent creating large sine waves through the crystalline sand. It cannot be violated. The harmonic sine wave of Numis Om does change in increments, but until the new Earth star Numis Om develops into another full stage of the new Earth, the sine wave will basically remain stable as it is now. Thoth refers to this particular new Earth star sine wave as the Tetzakal. It is present in only slight variation in all System 2 worlds. Thoth has chosen Tetzakal for his word definition, as he tells me that this was the ancient Maia name for it, what he calls the High Maia, who came from the Pleiades and mixed with certain elements of the indigenous Mayan culture of that time. Thoth, who was incarnated as Quetzalcoatl, states that Tetzakal means to wrap around, loop, circle, and fold in a way that sustains a creation or manifestation. The dragons of Numis Om personify the Tetzakal in their primal, pulsing, and folding presence. They interact with Numis Om humanity to aid that humanity in maintaining balance within the Tetzakal. The Tetzakal is the sine wave within the path of Azuma. From my article on the Earth Matrix of Templar, and I quote, "The Taichan vault radiates blue sapphire, amethystine violet, and diamond white light. Through these gem fires, it creates a field of overlay between the three polarity universes, positive, neutral, and negative, and the three millenniums." Of course, here we're not speaking of all the universes. We're talking about the ones that coordinate, that are part of the set that we are part of in this holographic reality. The latter is a term for the divisions of all time which exists outside of the Rana time wave. The overall format, which is formed by the composite dynamics of the sapphire amethystine diamond light, the three polarity universes, and the three millenniums meaning reality spectrums and not 100 years, develops a composite positioning of stellar influences which forms the path of Azuma. Azuma is the Quetzalcoatl archetype in an earlier High Mayan cosmology. The path of Azuma is a specific suvuya, which is defined in the Mayan oracle by Ariel Spilsbury and Michael Brenner as, and I quote, "the galactic memory circuit by which all things return to themselves, the return path to the stars, the grammar of harmony, the 13th or highest heaven of the Maya." End of quotes. This memory circuit links our universe with the other two universes, thereby allowing access between all dimensions and millenniums of being. There are two main types of dragons in Numis Om of the New Earth Star. Basically large and small. They are all winged. The large ones range from the size of a horse to a blue whale, while the small ones are the sizes of a mouse to a cat. The smaller ones are the Tinka. For the larger variety, I received the name Kir. While the Tinka are definitely more fairy-like and flitting, the Kir are more impressive and stable. There are no developing cycles in Numis Om. That is, things are not born, develop and leave the form as a result of entropy. There is no entropy in the new earth, yet beings are able to express themselves as children, even infants, if they wish. Thus, there seems to be a desire on the part of humans in Numis Om to experience young dragons, unicorns, and other creatures, even flora in various stages of budding and flowering. So these stages are seen and experienced at various times by human inhabitants of the new earth. The dragons form eggs that contain their pure energy essence. When the eggs hatch, this essence is released into the new earth as a more refined creational energy, which can be seen as baby dragons by those who wish to experience it in that way. So now we come to the dragon pearls. This is an interesting topic, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we want to get back to the dragons themselves, but it's so fascinating, and I feel it does have an energetic connection that you might wish to explore. The dragon pearls are spherical crystalline drops of dragon essence which is secreted from the sides of the eyes of the dragon, both males and females. This occurrence takes place when a dragon is thrumming, beating its wings in a heart song. It is a form of unity expression among themselves and all of the creational flow of their world, in this instance Numis Om. When the essence drops to the ground, in a short period of time is a dodgy word to use about anything in the New Earth realms, it becomes a crystal sphere. Each sphere is unique. It radiates the creation dynamic of the rushing of the universe within the matrix of its creation, like a snapshot of divine beauty in the eye of God in that moment of being, present as the pearl was formed. While the dragon eggs contain the essence of greater refinement of the new earth creational fields, the dragon pearls contain the very heart tears of the dragon song, the love of the creatrix for that which it has created. I have found a strong connection between dragon pearls and the Kuan Yin archetype with her dragon energy. I see her pour from her essence vial, the green glowing light essence, as a healing elixir into my body and the food I eat. We may call upon the dragons of Numis Om and their precious dragon pearls for healing of self and others and the planet through the song of love creation they have crystallized. There is a matrix forming between our current Earth and the new Earth of Numis Om within the new Earth hologram, which Thoth is calling the Dragon Star. It is the connecting of two star wheels of the dragon essence in its pure creational presence. As the two star wheels move together, so they form new geometries within the new Earth hologram for new creation vectors and thus creations to take place. By attuning to the dragon star, one may hold these creation fields in their being with greater awareness and synchronicity to the whole and constantly evolving dynamic of ascension. Off script for a moment, there is a video I created on the Dragon Star and how to warp a time wave. I created this video probably about 3 years ago, but it's based on a writing I did about 5 years ago. And it does go off into some dark places in regard to what's going on the planet, and it really foretells what's happening now. But the part about the Dragon Star is the saving grace and the energies that we can create to pull ourselves, or rather ascend ourselves beyond that frequency. So I'm going to place a link to the Dragon Star and how to warp a time wave video, which is on Vimeo, in the information box below. Moving along to another transmission, this in 2009, I was shown by Thoth 12 magnificent dragons, and he was overlighting one of them. I'm going to use the word overlighting. He was part of one of them. Now, Thoth is many things, and one of his things is the primordial energy in his being can manifest as one of these incredible dragons. From my 2009 article on this topic, Thoth showed me how these 12 dwellers, because he says they are also the dweller crystal skulls, they're connected to that, the souls of these beings, served the earth in dragon embodiments, holding the gates open in the primal core of the planet for the 12 crystal fire pillars, which he's calling the El-Orhim, to feed back and forth into the central sun, Hunab-Ku, of this galaxy and beyond, to the center of the universe. Thoth refers to these particular dragons as the Kat Hor I Elohim, and that they have taken human form in their process of creation and were able also to become any creature at will. The dragon ones are their primary path for the core energies of the planet, the creational furnace. I wish to pause here for a moment to state that what I'm saying is there is a dragon primordial being, but then there are genetic souls carrying genetic frequencies, that is, paragenetic, that have integrated with these beings at times for the purpose of a superior ordinance of nature function or natural function of the planet. And Thoth is one of those beings, those illumined ones who is able to do that. Back to the Elohim crystal fire pillars. These slowly rotate like a giant wheel connecting into the central sun atom of the earth and out into space-time. So they bend space-time in the dimensions in which they appear. They flash in and out of different dimensions in their constant adjusting and calibrating of the earth as a multidimensional field. The 12 dragon lords gathered together then, and I saw that they were creating new flame codes for the Elohim wheel, evidenced by changing the colors of their skin and eyes. It was a rainbow language as they spoke the encoding through their flesh into the planetary core. Again, one needs to take these things in understanding within quantum field dynamics. How does this relate to a flesh and blood dragon? Now, we have to think of things as either flesh and blood or not flesh and blood. But there is no real demarcation point, because when you get into the higher quantum dynamics, these things come and go. That's really all I can say about it at this point. It's difficult to put into words, nor do I even have the words. So let's continue. Seeing this gathering of dragon lords in their communion with the Elohim pillars brought me to the attention of a gathering we had with Thoth-Hara on the New Earth Star Island in Second Life, that's the virtual world, in which he spoke of the 12-13 of the Dweller Crystal Skulls and related topics. And in that he said, offer every human being the way to become in Lakech, I am another you, which is another way of saying I am that I am. Here on the New Earth Star Island, where we were in the virtual, we are reflecting, becoming the other, the mirror of the planet's transformation, and in doing so, we are aiding that transformation. How can this be? Just such a small community and modest estate. But it is not about the number of people. It is about the intent and the consistency of that intent. So, to explain it just a little bit better, at the time, this was many years ago, I had not only a presence in Second Life, which I have now, but I had a rather large community of people from all over the world coming and going to my gatherings. And that is where he made this statement, because this virtual space that I integrate with those encouragement, is indeed a true reality. Again, things come and go because they have a core principle within which they operate. So the outer transformations are not superficial. They are part of that core frequency, and they can become all these different things and still remain core to that dynamic. In another article which I wrote quite a few years ago, Thoth is speaking to me about the relationship between humans and reptiles. And this is speaking genetically. Now, before we start this, I want to stress we're not talking about reptilian beings taking over the planet and all of that stuff. This has nothing to do with that. That is a whole different topic. They're not taking over the planet, and actually, they're really pretty much small fry compared to the Greys and some of the other things that are going on this planet. But none of that is as large a picture and threat to the planet as it has been very purposely orchestrated to appear. So we're not going to get off on that, but I just wanted to say that's not what we're talking about here. Okay, so this is what Thoth had to say about the relationship between humans and reptiles. I ask if they were truly related, and he replies, they are. But then it is important to understand that all living things on Earth are genetically related to human beings in various degrees. The reptilian aspect has two very different influences upon the human genome. One is on the level of fight or flight, the basic desire and will for the mortal body to survive, and in humans, the emotional body. Humans have wrapped mortality and emotions very tightly together. The actual will for that survival comes from the reptilian brain. However, there is a much more highly evolved reptilian connection with humans. This is what we refer to as the dragon cones. These are small cone-shaped nodes in the DNA that, when triggered, allow human beings to move into a fiery state of pure light, a specific kind that is what we could call first stage formation. It is pure creative power. From out of this supremacy, a human being is bound to the pillar of Azeroth, the fire foundation pillar of creation. Such advanced humans, then, become the transformers of the elemental world. Now, within this article, I pause for a moment with the Thothic translations, and I go to Googling the word Azeroth. I came up with an Assyrian demon and a game called World of Warcraft. Thoth explains that demon is actually daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, which simply means an elemental being. Given the way myths and histories are distorted through the ages, not to mention misinterpreted via language and cultural differences, one can see why this name Azeroth might have taken a turn for the worse on its journey through time. So the big question is, what does Azeroth mean? And we go back to Thoth for that. That which is the root of the earth, or the root in the earth, defining the mystery of life and death, the force lifting one out of the mire, leaving all behind that does not belong to the eternal soul, thus becoming the engine for new creation. The dragon lords dwell within the Azeroth. They are therefore often feared, as humanity cherishes what it knows or thinks it knows, and fears letting go and surrendering to new creation. Yet the seed of the dragon is within them, as is the lesser reptilian fear. These two aspects must and will be reconciled. That's really the core of what I wanted to share with you today in previous written material, but I couldn't resist just adding one more thing because it just touches my heart. This is about Merlin, or actually Myrddin, who was an incarnation of Thoth, or at least he was one of the souls of this being. And when he was a boy, he was protected and guided to some degree by a fiery, beautiful female dragon named Ismerald. As fanciful as that might sound, again, we can always translate it into quantum physics. Just about everything we can take into that perspective, and the knowledge that all these energies come out of core creation, and they can take all these different forms. And so this primal power of the core creation manifested into the young boy's life, Merlin's life, as a dragon being, a genuine, honest-to-goodness dragon being, whom he named, or was given the name through spirit, of Ismerald. As I often do, I wish to conclude this video with some more activational images to take to heart.